perhaps a new career or a new vocation for yourself or to supplement your income by having a solid education. I learned so much here at the Online Trading Academy that it proves so beneficial that it makes my trading, what I do on a day-to-day basis, that much easier and that much more successful. And I would highly recommend anybody coming across to start here. It gives you a great basis to start with. And I just wanted to say also the educational instructors that they have here are just absolutely first class, A1, and you learn so much from them. I can't say enough.
Well, thanks, Charles. One thing you touched on there, it's all about confidence. And that's where having a strategy, having rules, having coaches and mentors comes in. So many people out there, they lack the confidence in their ability to trade. Why? Because you've been burned in the past. You've lost money. You've had big losses. And that's where having coaches and mentors come in. We could get you better. If you want to be better at anything in life, have a coach, have a mentor help you. And that's what we do. And that's what we teach our students. If you want to learn a rules-based approach that can make you money in up markets, down markets, and sideways markets, we still have a few more seats remaining for this half-day class. If you want to generate additional income and change your life, this class is for you. It's free. Pick up your phone, give us a call right now. You'll receive 2 passes for both you and a guest. It's all free. 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510. They have classes during the week and the weekends. If you live in Palm Beach, give us a call. You live in Broward County, you live in Miami, give us a call and get your seat reserved. We have a few more seats remaining. 954-668-2510. 954-668-2510. And I want to spend a couple minutes talking about capital preservation and risk management. We talk about trading and investing. One of the first questions I always ask students is, how much do you want to get started with in the markets? And, people, we always throw out some numbers, a couple grand, 10, 20, 30 grand, couple $100. Everyone's different. But I always walk them through this scenario. Listeners, whether you wanted to get started with a $1,000 account, $10,000 account, $10 million account, the one thing as a trader you can control is the amount of risk you put on every trade. If you were to say to yourself, hey, the most I'm willing to take at risk on a trade is $50, that's the most you'll lose. Whether you have a $1,000 account, $10,000 account, or $10 million account. So if you could minimize your losses, how about that as a business? It sounds like it's so easy to do that, and we could do that through different types of risk management strategies, and that's why people are coming in, because they know the next market crash is right around the corner. If the markets dropped 50% in 2008, the markets dropped 50% in 2000. Listeners, do you believe that it could be possible when we do have another market crash, we could lose or drop another 50%?
This has been the Trader's Edge Radio Show, brought to you by Online Trading Academy in South Florida. If you're tired of losing money in your mutual funds or 401ks just because the market goes down, or if you're looking for a way to make extra money on top of your full-time job, learn the right way to make trades and how banks and institutions are making money in up, sideways, and down markets with the patented rules-based strategy taught only at Online Trading Academy. This is the only trading campus in South Florida. Call now to attend a free class to see how it works and if it's right for you. Bring a friend. Free half-day classes are in Broward and now our new location in Palm Beach. Online Trading Academy. Call now, 954-668-2510. That's 954-668-2510.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
The older we grow, the more we value our independence. We don't want to be a burden to our kids. We don't want to be overly reliant on our spouse. And above all, we want to remain in our home. And that's why I want you to call my longtime personal friends at Companions Plus, the ideal alternative to nursing homes. Call area code 561-495-4771. They're available to take your calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Lupus. It's one of the cruelest, most mysterious diseases on Earth. Lupus strikes without warning, can ravage any part of the body, and has no known cause and no known cure. Its health effects range from a skin rash to a heart attack. Lupus is an unpredictable and misunderstood disease that's difficult to diagnose, hard to live with, and a challenge to treat. Help us solve the cruel mystery. We're the Lupus Foundation of America, the only national force devoted to solving the mystery of lupus. We lead the fight to improve the quality of life for all people affected by this devastating disease. To learn more about lupus and how we can help those who suffer from its brutal impact, visit us online at lupus.org or call the Lupus Foundation of America at 1-800-558-0121. That's 1-800-558-0121.
Are you looking for a different school for your child, where he or she can grow and succeed in ways you've only dreamed about? Well, we have some good news. You have options. We're a nonprofit organization called Step Up for Students, and we award scholarships for children in Florida so they can attend the kindergarten through 12th grade school that best meets their learning needs. You choose. One scholarship helps pay for private school tuition or assist with transportation costs to attend a public school in another county. And now, Step Up for Students also helps children with special needs with the Personal Learning Scholarship Account. Customize your child's education. Visit stepupforstudents.org to learn more. It could change your child's life. Again, visit us at stepupforstudents.org and find the best learning environment for your child. Every child deserves a chance to succeed.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Getting support from friends online kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
Instead of smoking after I ate, I'd get up and take a walk.
I missed having a cigarette in my hand, so I'd hold a pen or a straw, anything.
Until I knew I wouldn't give in to temptation, I spent more time with my friends who didn't smoke.
I went to places that were smoke-free.
I didn't stay quit the very first time I tried.
I kept on trying, and I learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
I quit.
I quit.
I quit.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
America's service members and veterans are strong, forged out of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. They are diverse, unique, from all corners of the country, and, thanks to their common experience, a family for life. But whether they served in lands far away or communities close to home, some of these men and women may face difficult times or even crisis. But sometimes reaching out for help can be the most challenging and worthwhile mission of all for veterans, service members, reserve, and National Guard. Thankfully, friends, family, and communities are standing by their service members and veterans now more than ever. We're all in this together. When you recognize something isn't right, make the call to the Veterans Crisis Line or Military Crisis Line. During times of crisis, reach out and call. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1, or chat online at veteranscrisisline.net or text 838-255.
Talk 1470 is WWNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton. The Health and Wealth Radio Network. 1470 AM and 95.3 FM. The Health and Wealth Radio Network. Get it straight from the expert's mouth on Ask the Experts with host Steve O. Every Thursday at 5 p.m.
If you've decided to get back to feeling good again like you used to feel, then you're invited to tune in to the Dr. Bob Martin Show. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob, at your service Sunday mornings at 10 on Talk 1470 WNN.
For almost 10 years, I've been a lineman for the power company. It's hard work up here on the wires, long, dangerous hours, and at times like this, when storms roll through, I really appreciate how much people rely on me. I know that service is important. That's why I also serve in the Coast Guard Reserve. In the Coast Guard Reserve, our crews respond to rising floodwaters in the Midwest, oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico, and disasters like the Haiti earthquake. The Coast Guard Reserve is a challenge I gladly take on because my country needs me. It has a lot in common with my full-time career, and just like other first responders, firemen, police officers, and EMTs, we do our best work when things are their worst. I have no doubt I was born for this.
If you were born ready to give more to your country, the Coast Guard Reserve is ready for you. Learn more at gocoastguard.com.
Sponsored by the United States Coast Guard in cooperation with the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Hi, I'm Judith Light. So there you are. It's flu season, and you're over 65 like me. You're having another busy year. So much to do, so many roles in life to play. But you feel like you might be forgetting something serious. Your annual flu shot. And before you know it, it's too late. It's not just the aches, fever, and chills that last for days and days. The flu can be life-threatening, especially if you have chronic conditions like diabetes and heart disease, which can worsen with the flu. Being active and healthy alone won't protect you. The immune system weakens with age, making you more susceptible to the flu. If you're over 65, ask about your vaccine options, including one made specifically for us. An annual flu shot is the best way to help keep the flu away. Visit the National Council on Aging at ncoa.org/flu to learn more and talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccine options for people 65 and older. Again, that's ncoa.org/flu.
Now you can get Talk 1470 WNN on 95.3 FM too. Loud and clear. Health and Wealth Radio, WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teele. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teele, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining Caregiver Solutions Info. I'm so glad that you're here. We have another wonderful show for you today. We are live from Boca Raton, Florida. This is a program for you, a family caregiver. Caregiving can be very stressful. Caregiving is the unknown. And this show was created for family caregivers to learn more about caregiving, to hear from experts about different techniques and tips and advice that you can utilize to make your caregiving a little bit better. And so I'm glad that you're with us, and we have a wonderful person that I've known for a very long time with us today, and she has a lot to say, and I do want to get right into our program today. But let me ask you a couple questions first. This is the end of the year. Things are getting stressful. Things are piling up from all year. We haven't had time as caregivers to spend sorting through our belongings, looking at all the mail that's piled up, returning notes and letters, maybe even newspapers. Do you find yourself looking at a lot of messes that stress you out and you're not sure what to do about it? Also, is this the time of year when you're getting a lot of company in because it's the holidays and you want to organize? You want things to be nice, but you're not sure how to go about doing it because you have no time. You're not sure where to put things. Are you going to be able to find them after you put them away? Because we get stressed out, and stress causes us as caregivers to sometimes forget things. It's not that we have dementia, but stress can cause short-term memory loss because we're not paying attention. There's a lot of issues that caregivers that they go through, and they're not even aware of some of the things that stress them out. So today we're going to be talking about all this and more. Also, there are a lot of people that are struggling and taking care of a big house. And sometimes it comes to the point where as a caregiver you want to downsize to make your life a little bit more simple, and it's a big, overwhelming job to even think about it, let alone know where to start. So how do you start? How do you sort through all of the belongings and say, I want to keep this, I don't want to keep that, I want to give some to my children, I want to give some away, I'm not sure what I want to do, I'm not sure even what I need. And so these are things that can just keep a caregiver paralyzed. Also, think about this. If you're an adult child and you are in charge of a parent that has some memory loss, either mild cognitive impairment, dementia, Alzheimer's, some other related type of dementia, and you're in charge of helping sort through all of your parents' belongings because maybe it's time for them to make a move. And so, again, where do you start? How do you know what's important? How do you know what you're going to need when mom or dad makes a move into a different type of living arrangement? This is what we're going to be talking about today, and I'm so excited. So let's just get right to it, and I want to welcome with me today Sharon Kofar. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, thank you, Marcia, for inviting me.
I'm so glad that you're here. You have a great company called A Move Made Easy, and I have known you for many years, and I know that you are very successful at what you do. So I want to talk about, first of all, a move made easy. That's what we all would want if we're going to make a move. Right. But you do much more than moving people. Right. And I know that you have a lot of experience with caregivers and seniors, and that's why I think it's important, because here we are at the end of December and people are trying to get organized, even taxes. I mean, tax time is coming up and everybody's scrambling to get all their receipts and get the shoebox out and take it to the accountant, and sometimes, that needs to be remedied because things are just so scattered. So I want to talk about this concept of a move made easy. And the first thing I'd like to ask you is this type of company very utilized across the country? And if not, why not?
Well, we have the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and we have a little over 1,000 members. But it's getting the word out that we are there to help the senior or individuals with disabilities every step of the way. We literally hold their hand from beginning to end, and people don't know about it. Recently, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, many of the local newspapers have written about senior move management. It's a new profession, totally dedicated to the senior population, and as the word gets around more, people are calling.
Wow. So you are part of this organization. I know in your brochure it says NASMM, and again, that's National Association of Senior Move Managers.
Yes.
And you are A+ accredited.
Yes.
And what does that mean? What kind of credentials does someone need in order to be part of this organization?
Okay, first of all, I want to say that call yourself a senior move manager, you have to belong to NASM. That's the acronym. And so you can't call yourself a senior move manager unless you've been vetted by the organization. You have to have been in business for so many moves. You have to have letters of references. You have to have proper insurance. You have to take a safety and ethics course, so that there are vetting procedures before you can call yourself a senior move manager. Now, they have courses. They have what's called NASM University, where you can enrich your information, because working with seniors, it's not just about boxes when you move them. It's about the whole transition from beginning to end. It's about Alzheimer's and dementia and biohazardous waste and dealing with the families and selling the stuff and helping them give up what they have. There's just so many different facets of it. So they have education for you. So they have a certification called Senior Move Management Certification. That's the CSMM. But then they have a higher level one, which is A+ accreditation. Out of over 1,000 members, there is only about 25, 27 companies that have this special accreditation and vetting. You have to submit your contract, all a complicated questionnaire on all the different things, how you handle different situations. You are interviewed, and it's a very detailed process about how you handle different situations and how you interact with the client.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, you have a few credentials after your name, after the SMM, which we just talked about, and the certification of that. You also have a CRTS and a PMP. What does that mean?
The CRTS is Certified Relocation Transition Specialist. That was another curriculum that I took. Because I want to learn everything I can in this field and constantly improve myself, I've taken every course that's available. The PMP is a certification that's from the corporate world. It stands for Project Management Professional. It's a detailed test like an CPA exam that's 4 to 8 hours, and you study for months, and then you take the test. So that's another kind of certification.
So there's a lot of education that goes into being a senior move manager that would actually benefit the end client.
Yes.
Because like you said, it's not just about showing up with boxes, throwing things in, packing them up, and moving them. When you're dealing with seniors, there's a lot of issues involved. And that's why I wanted to bring you here onto this program to explain all of this to our caregivers and to others that are listening, that it's very important to pick the right person, the right company when you are moving and relocating, whether it's across town or across the state or across the country.
Right.
And I think that you certainly have those credentials, and thank you for explaining what that means. So let's talk about what a Move Made Easy, how that came about, because did you just wake up one day and say, I want to be a senior move manager?
Well, it all started when I was a little girl.
Really?
My mother was crippled, and I did her charity work because she had been very active. And starting at 9 years old, I used to go door to door collecting for March of Dimes. And I started a club when I was 12. I started another club when I was 17. I've always been very involved, and all the clubs would help people who are less fortunate. Then I became a school teacher, and we used to do piñatas for the poor. We used to collect at Halloween time. One time we collected 101 pounds of candy and took it to an orphanage.
Aww.
And a school field trip to the orphanage. So I've always been involved in helping others.
And giving to others and being there for others.
And making a difference.
Yes.
So after school teacher, I went back to school for computers. And when I worked for the different companies like IBM and Motorola, I did the community action events as I wasn't paid for that, but that was something that was part of, that I assumed the responsibility because I wanted to help people. So when I was in the computer field, I was laid off 5 times because that's what technology is.
Wow.
And that was never a problem. But one day I decided that instead of giving 150 hours to the corporate world, I wanted to make a difference every single day. Well, coincidentally, I picked up the newspaper one day in 2003, and the headlines on the local section talked about this profession. It sounded interesting because I wanted to help seniors. I never had any grandparents, so they've always held an interest to me. And I called people in the article.
So this was a new concept for you.
This was a totally new concept, and I knew I wanted to help the elderly, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I first thought I would maybe teach them computers, and then I read about this business, and I went for special training, and at the end of the day, and I was exhausted, I totally knew this was it.
This was it. You found your mission, you found your purpose, and you did it, and you went for it, and we're so glad that you did, because you have helped so many people here in South Florida that I even know some personally, and they're very, very glad that you went into this profession. So we're going to take our first commercial break, and when we come back, Sharon's going to share with us all the things that a senior move manager does, and you'll be surprised about some of those things. So we'll be right back.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts.
Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And welcome back. We are here with Sharon Kofar. She is the owner of A Move Made Easy, and she's sharing with us all about moving seniors and helping people not only move, but you do a lot of things. And, you know, you are a very busy lady, and I so appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. You have a lot of experience, and do you actually have a number of how many moves over the years you've actually done, or guesstimate?
Well, we've been doing it for 14 years. It's over 1,000.
Wow. So you do have that experience, and I know you have a lot of tips, and I know you have a lot of stories. So I'm so excited that you're here. But let's talk about this, because when we first started the show, and I talked about if you're thinking about, you know, company coming, and you're thinking about all the things that you have around. We know caregivers have stress enough in their life, but when there's a lot of stuff and there's things that aren't in their place, it can actually cause more stress for caregivers. Is this something that you can help caregivers with? And if so, how would that happen?
Well, first of all, we give a complimentary consultation, so we can go there, and even though we're called A Move Made Easy and we help with the move, many times we just help people get organized and more peace in their house by cleaning out closets, by finding places for things, and organizing. So we're available not just for a move, but yes, we can go in and give suggestions.
Okay. And you told me during the break about something about junk mail. Now, we all have junk mail. It comes in. I know I get it. I put it to the side, and when I have time, I go through it and see if it's important or if it's not. But sometimes we just don't have enough time to do that, or sometimes people are afraid to throw a piece of junk mail away because there might be something important. And sometimes people think it's junk mail and toss it, and it turns out in reality it was a very important document. So give a tip about junk mail. I know that you said you had a personal experience, and how did that happen for you?
Well, I have a magazine rack next to the couch in my bedroom. And I myself have a professional organizer that's on my staff, comes to help me get organized, because it's sort of like the shoemaker without any shoes. You don't have time to take care of stuff on your own. So she was in my bedroom and pointed to my magazine rack. My magazine rack was this high, filled with junk mail.
So that you just mentioned maybe 3 feet high?
Yes.
Wow, okay. That's a lot of junk mail.
I am a junk mail junkie. I have to save and read every Steinmark catalog, Bed Bath & Beyond, AARP magazine.
We might miss something.
Right.
We might miss a sale. We might miss a coupon.
Right, or an article, or maybe a cure for cancer or something. So I have to read them all. So they stack up. So my organizer, Francine, said to me, "What's this?" And so I explained that I have to read it someday. And she said, "Well, you can either have 5 minutes of stress while I put it all in a garbage bag, or you can have stress every day walking by, knowing that you have no time to do it, but seeing it mounting up. Which do you choose?" I said, "Okay, give me 5 minutes of stress."
Really? So you chose to let her throw it all away.
Right, so she threw it all away, and I kept saying, "Oh my God, that's the art magazine. Oh my God, that's, oh my," and it was not easy for me. So I understand, because I've been there, what caregivers can go through. So what happened is, 3 months later, it's 3 feet high again. But now I can say to myself, I can have 5 minutes of stress, or I can have stress every day knowing it's mounting up and I don't have time. I chose 5 minutes stress again.
And it did give you stress, right? Every time you looked at it, you're probably thinking, when am I going to have time to do this? I really need to sit down and take care of this, but yet I don't have time. And it probably gave you a little bit of anxiety.
Right.
And I think it's great that you shared that story, because sometimes people don't understand that you understand, or that the professional that they're dealing with understands what they're going through. And you absolutely do, because we all experience some of this in our life. And I think the people that help people in a certain area are the ones that, can deal with it themselves, and they know what they're talking about. So Thank you for sharing that. So you do have organizational opportunities for people, if they're not even moving, but they just want to get their life in order.
Right.
I think that's awesome. And now let's take the scenario of someone who, well, I know you mentioned it earlier too, about hoarding. Now, we talked about the junk mail, okay? And I think we all tend to do that to a point, but I know that there's a unspoken problem out there in a lot of seniors' homes, where because they have certain mental issues, maybe they have dementia, maybe they just have some psychological problems, that they don't get rid of anything. I'm not just talking about junk mail. I'm talking about anything and everything. Have you ever encountered that?
Yes, we've done many situations of that. And for instance, we had one that probably never threw out a TV dinner tray. Wow. She had hundreds and hundreds.
You mean the plastic or the metal, the aluminum ones that you save after the TV dinner's gone?
As they modernized and got to be like cardboard plastic, she saved those too.
Well, a lot of that mindset comes from back in the Depression days, when people didn't have money to buy things. They had to, we call it recycling these days, but they kept everything because they might need it, because they had to, because they didn't have the money during the Depression to be able to do that. But now things are different, but they still have that same mindset. So if you're dealing with someone with that mindset, it's pretty tricky, because you just can't walk in their house and say, "Oh my gosh, we just got to get rid of all this right now." I mean, I think you'd throw them into such a spin, they'd end up in the loony bin, right?
That's exactly right.
So how do you handle something like that?
Well, for instance, I worked with a client who was going to move, and she had about 20 suits of her son who had died 2 years before. She wanted to move them with her. So I said to her, your son had really good taste in clothes. Wouldn't it be nice if a homeless man got one of these and he took a job interview and you turned his life around?
Wow.
She couldn't wait to donate it.
Really? You gave her
A
hope,
purpose.
and you gave her the hope that her son's memory, because that was his memory. Those suits that she was holding on to was her memory of him that she didn't want to let go of. But then you gave her an opportunity to let his memory have a purpose and live in someone else, and that gave her probably such a great feeling.
That's right.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I've done that a lot, where a woman has a very fancy gown, and she hasn't worn it in 30 years, but she said it's very expensive, and I need to bring it with me. And I'd say, you know, you have wonderful taste in clothes. Wouldn't it be nice if a new bride bought it at a thrift shop because she couldn't afford such nice clothes, but now she gets to have this experience? She buys it for her honeymoon trousseau, and it gets another 30 years of life with her new husband. Can't wait to donate it.
Really? So what you're doing is you're getting to the heart of the matter rather than just talking about things, the clothes in this case. It could be anything. It could be any object. But I like your example with the clothes because it's a way for them to let go but yet have a good feeling about it. And you're replacing the fear. I see it as a fear. You're replacing that fear of letting go with the satisfaction, the hope, the pleasure of giving to someone else, and everybody benefits.
Right. You know what I think it is, too? They don't want their things thrown out.
Yes.
This is their cherished possessions.
Yes.
They want someone else to cherish it and respect it. And when you come from that point of view, they can't wait to give it up. I have to tell you about one of my very favorite clients. She was a craft hoarder. And
she did arts and crafts with...
yeah, she had fabric. She used to work for a fabric company, and she had a pattern company. Oh. And she used to have... she had lots and lots of fabric. And, I mean, it was stacked very, very high. Stuff in every room. And milk cartons and... tubes and all kinds of things. So originally her son was going to rent a dumpster and throw everything out. And I convinced him that this would have psychological damage for her because I have seen it with other clients when other people have done that. And that this is her stuff and needs to be respected. And we need to go through it with her. The son was paying our bill. And every morning we went to the lady and we drew up a new contract with her. The contract the first day said, a move made easy promises not to throw out anything without permission. Today you give us permission to throw out the milk cartons and the cardboard tubes and the old cans.
And that was actually written out?
Written out, she signed it, and we signed it. The next day, a move made easy promises not to throw anything out without permission because that's their fear. Today you give us permission to throw out such and such. And we did this every day for about 2 weeks.
And after she signed it, you actually threw those things away?
Yes. And she was okay with it because she agreed to it. Okay, well, all that stuff was very unconfrontational. After 2 weeks, we had to get to her crafts.
You're still there after 2 weeks with daily contracts?
Yes.
Wow, she had a lot of stuff.
She had a lot of stuff. So what happened is, now we're going to do her craft room. And so I said to her, she had been living in Independent, then she went to rehab, couldn't go back to Independent anymore, she had moved to Assisted. So it's a smaller place. So I said, okay, you can take 4 bins of your crafts, whatever you can fit in those 4 bins. So she, very carefully chose the things, took them in, out, made big decisions. And then we packed up the rest. We had 51 bags of fabric, big black garbage bags. Fabric, buttons, and zippers. And then I gave her a list of where she could donate it. She chose an indigent high school in Fort Lauderdale, their drama department for costumes.
Aww. Wow, that's really cool. And now again, she's letting go, but it's benefiting someone that's less fortunate.
And she was just very proud that her stuff was not going to be thrown away. And then she had a car, a little like a RAV4, a mini station wagon, and we donated it to a abused woman with 4 children who had no car. The discards, it's very important that you make them meaningful.
Yeah.
Our company collects eyeglasses, hearing aids, incontinence supplies, walkers, wheelchairs, shower chairs. We collect empty baskets because I work on a lot of charity committees, and the luncheon, instead of doing flowers and spending money, we do food baskets with the pretty saran and a pretty ribbon, and then they're donated to a food pantry after. So we collect baskets. We use the discards a lot. Recently we gave about 40 bags of medical supplies to Nicaragua, to a missionary. We did 30 bags to Colombia, and now we have about 30 bags now again to give to another needy organization.
You know, Sharon, I see that talking about this elicits a lot of emotion, and I see tears in your eyes when you're describing all these wonderful scenarios. And you said in the beginning of the show that you chose this profession to make a difference, and I certainly can, validate that you have really accomplished your mission and that your goals, and you continue to do this. And I think that's wonderful because, you're helping people by helping people, and I think that's what it's all about.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. So we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know. We understand. We can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And welcome back to Caregiver Solutions Info. I want to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community, because Arden Courts is a community dedicated to memory care. And matter of fact, memory care is all they do. They are located in 52 locations throughout the United States. Right here in Florida, we have 10. And so Arden Courts is a resource for you, not only for assisted living, for people that have memory problems, but for caregivers and for support groups and educational seminars and for lots of resources. Because Arden Courts cares about the caregiver, they like to offer you a free book. This is called the 36-Hour Day. It's a family guide to caregiving, talks about Alzheimer's, dementia, memory loss, lots of information in this book. It's in its 5th edition, written by Dr. Peter Rabins, and it is excellent. And I recommend it to anyone who has not read it yet, if you're a caregiver or you are a family member of a caregiver, because family members need to understand what caregivers go through also. So this book is free just for asking, and all you have to do is call the toll-free number at Arden Courts, which is 888-478-2410. 888-478-2410. Call them up, let them know that you heard about this offer on Caregiver Solutions Info, and they'll make sure they get this book out to you right away. So I'm here with Sharon Kofar. She is the owner of A Move Made Easy, and we've been talking about lots of really wonderful things about how to help seniors downsize, how to help seniors let go of things in their life that are causing them stress. And Sharon, I love the stories that you tell. You are certainly making a difference and helping others make a difference and helping others to, simplify. And, that's something that we all probably need to do at some point in our lives. So let me ask you, everyone has a big closet that over the years they collect their clothes and their drawers. And I have a girlfriend who never throws anything out. She just keeps buying new things. She has a hard time letting go. And now her whole house has been taken over, that all the bedrooms, all the closets in her house are all for her stuff, and there's not room for anybody else because she's just got way too many clothes. Some people have the philosophy that if I buy something new, I'll get rid of something else. All right. I think her philosophy should be if I buy something new, I'll get rid of 10 things, because she really needs to do this. But it's not easy for everybody. And I know when you're going into someone's home and you need to help them pick through what to take and what to get rid of when they're moving into a smaller house or maybe going from a larger home into an independent living or an assisted living, like you mentioned before. There are ways to do this so that it actually makes sense. Share with us how you figure out, we'll take clothes, for example, in the closet. What goes, what stays?
Well, we have several different ways that we do it. Okay, one of the ways is we will hold up a dress and the client will look at it and they'll say yes or no. Well, sometimes it's not easy for them. So we'll say, is it a friend? You have to have it in your life. You see it all the time. It's important to you. Keep it. Is it an acquaintance? You don't see it very often, but when you see that dress, it's like you've never been apart and you really enjoy wearing it and you need it in your life. Or is it a stranger? You haven't seen that dress in 3 years. How important could it be to your life if it's a stranger? Get rid of your strangers. And after I tell the clients this, they will actually call me at night and say, guess what? I just gave away 3 more strangers.
And I'm deciding I'm going to keep my best friend, right? So this is a way for them to relate to their clothes like they're relating to their friends, because you're right, people have acquaintances in their lives, they have best buddies, and then they have strangers or people that maybe they thought were friends, but they really don't do anything with them anymore. And so this is a great way to help someone to know what to keep and what to discard. I like that very much.
And we have a couple other ways too.
Yes.
For instance, you can turn your hangers all one way, and then as you wear something, you turn the hanger the other way when you hang it up. And at the end of a month or 6 months or a year, you see what hangers haven't been turned, and then you see that you haven't worn those items in a really long time. So that's a long-term solution. You know, the stranger, acquaintance, and friend we have to do right away because we're moving in 2 weeks. But the other thing is something that they can be cognizant of and watch for a year.
Yeah, and that's something anybody can do. And I actually like your idea better because I had heard about doing that to see what clothes that we wore and which we really didn't wear. And I was using little stickies that you peel off, and little stickies, and after a while they started falling onto the floor. And I'm like, well, which article did this really go on? And so the stickies didn't work so well. But I like the hanger thing, so you turn it the opposite way. Yeah.
See, and once the client's made a decision to give up their stuff, give up their maybe some acquaintances and mostly strangers, we still have the issue of whether it's going to fit into the new place. So what we will do is we will measure the long hanging and the short hanging in their current place, and then we'll measure the long hanging and short hanging in the new place and see how it coincides. Because let's say they're taking 30 linear feet of clothes and the new place only has room for 15. We have to figure out some solutions. And some of the solutions are, well, we could have the closets double hung if they're not already double hung. That's one of the solutions. Another solution is buying thinner hangers. So, because a lot of people have the plastic or crocheted hangers, and if we use the thinner hangers, we can get more hung there because they're closer together. Another solution is a lot of seniors hang their pants, their slacks, or men or women, the long way. So it takes up a lot of room.
Right.
This way, if they put it over a hanger, they can double hang that whole row, and instead of having 10 feet of long hanging of slacks, they can have now 20 feet. in the same space.
So your job is really twofold. I mean, you don't just move the stuff. You figure out what to move and how to move it, and if it's even going to fit when you do get there. So you're thinking of things that most people don't even have an idea to think about.
Right.
And that's why you're the professional.
Right. And here's another example. I had a woman who had a lot of books. She was moving into a studio apartment. She had read them. She just didn't want to give them up.
Well, people like their books.
That's right.
A lot of bookworms, they don't want to give that up.
But there was no room. So what we did is we bought her a bin on wheels for under her bed, and we stored her books there. They were close to her. She felt very good about it, but they didn't take up room in her apartment.
So you're really expert at finding the little nooks and crannies where you can put things so that it all flows, it's all organized, and it makes everybody happy. I love that.
Here's a good one.
Okay.
Trays. A lot of them want to take trays to their independent or assisted living. Serving trays.
Serving trays. So they're going to entertain a lot. Or they think.
Right. Even though they're not going to entertain, they want to take those big trays. Those trays were important to them. If their couch has a skirt,
yes,
we lift the skirt and we put it under the skirt.
Wow, who would have thought? Right. Well, here, I want to serve you a drink, but move your legs first. I got to pull out the tray to get to it. Wow. You know, and at some point when they realize when they do take these things, if they're not really using them, they may go ahead and just say, you know, I really am not married to this anymore, and I will let it go. So, so now we talked about, you know, going in and organizing, picking out what goes, what stays, how to dispose of things. I love your idea that you're giving back to charity and you're making a difference with disposing of items that somebody else could use. I love that. Then it comes to the packing and the moving. Do you do anything special with that? And also, since we have a lot of caregivers that are listening to our program that are dealing with dementia issues with a spouse or a parent, do you do anything special when it comes to someone with dementia?
Yes. First of all, we do not advise them to be there when we pack. We ask the family to take them away because
and why is that?
It is way too stressful for them. The chaos of the boxes and the paper, people moving back and forth, their stuff being touched can bother a lot of people. So we suggest that they are not there for the packing or the unpacking. So one of the things that we do is, let's say they have a curio cabinet and that elephant has been on that third shelf for 30 years. If that elephant is not on that third shelf, they may notice, and it may be really upsetting to them. So we have a numbering system, and we number each bundle as we pack it, and it will go back on that right shelf, and it'll go back in the exact same place. And so we can duplicate their old environment with their new environment.
Wow. I love that because it's true. People with dementia, they have the long-term memory. And if you're going to be moving them and they know what they had because they still have the long-term memory, it is very unsettling to them to all of a sudden to mix up their world and turn their world upside down. I love that. That's who would have, who thinks of that except a person in your profession that knows what's important and knows, why it's important. I like that. People that have dementia have hard enough when it comes time to moving into a new environment. They have to transition and acclimate. So I think it's important to bring those personal items, as you mentioned, and include certain things in the new environment that will make them feel comfortable. Not everything, but you want to pick out the things that are important and the things that are safe that they're going to be able to live with. Yes, I think that's important. Years ago, there was a niece who moved her aunt into Arden Courts, and the niece thought that Aunt Betty, I'll call her Aunt Betty, that Aunt Betty needed all of the stuff from her house. And you wouldn't believe the amount of stuff that the niece filled from top to bottom, ceiling to floor, all around in the space that was given for her, that you couldn't even see the walls. But she said, no, Aunt Betty needs this. And do you know Aunt Betty was actually agitated by having all of this stuff around her because she didn't know what to do with it. She felt like, well, it's here. Should I be doing something with it? We tried to explain to the niece that less is more when it comes to people with dementia, and that, give her a little bit, but not overwhelmingly enough that she's going to just be confused and agitated. So the niece finally went back to wherever she lived in New Hampshire or something, and we actually started slowly kind of simplifying the room. And as we simplified that room for Aunt Betty's behavior got so much better because she was more comfortable, she wasn't agitated, there wasn't all this stuff that was overstimulating her.
Right.
So I know that you understand that too. It's very important for people to, realize the implications of moving a senior, especially a senior with dementia. And you certainly have that down pat, I have to tell you.
Thank you. You know, one of the things too is we have a lot is where the children want to bring things or not bring things. Like, for instance, Mom, you cannot take that chair. It is torn, it is soiled, it is old, it's not modern, you cannot take it. But I tell the child, she has to take what's important to her, because that may be where your father sat all those years. And she looking at the chair makes her feel safe and happy. Mm-hmm. So it's not about how the piece looks. Mm-hmm. It's about how it makes the person feel.
And that's what we're talking about, is making them feel. You have explained to us about things that we're attached to and why we're attached to them and why we need to keep some things in our life. And it's all about the feelings and making sure that we're not destroying memories in the process.
Right. I had an interesting scenario where we moved a gentleman. The sister hired us. They forgot to hire a mover or anybody, and we were called at 10 o'clock that day to mobilize at this community. And we did. And the sister-in-law was throwing out all these family pictures. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, my brother has dementia, doesn't even know, it was her sister, doesn't know who these people are anyway. I'm throwing them all out.
She was throwing them out because she figured her sister wouldn't remember them?
That's right, right. So, coincidentally, when I was in the living room packing, when she wasn't looking, I was taking them out of the garbage. At the same time, unbeknownst to me, my staff member who was packing the bedroom was taking them out of the garbage too. So after the move, when we were loading the car at the end of the day, Sandy says to me, these pictures were in the garbage. I took them out. I said, "Funny, I took mine out too. I'm going to make her a photo album." So I made her a big coffee table photo album, and a week later I went to present it to her. And her comment to me was, "Oh my God, I wondered where my pictures was. I used to be in vaudeville, and these are pictures of me on the stage, and they were very important to me, and I was wondering where they were. I'm so glad you found them for me."
Wow.
And at that point, we're reminiscing together on her couch, going through this photo album. The sister-in-law walks in and says, "Where did you get those pictures?" I didn't say a word.
Wow. That's a wonderful story. That just really touches your heart. And, I can't even add anything to that. I'm very touched by that, except we will go to commercial break and we'll be right back.
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts.
And 0 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teele, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on CareGiverSolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And I'm back having a wonderful conversation with Sharon Kofar, who is the owner of A Move Made Easy. Sharon, you are a wealth of information. You're very inspiring. You help seniors and others organize their life and make them happy in the process. You do more than move. You organize, you dispose of items, you sort, you downsize, you pack, you move, you unpack, you organize, you get their home ready. Is there something that you don't do? I mean, I think it's from A to Z, soup to nuts, whatever somebody needs.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is custom. In other words, we want to meet the needs of the client. One time I had a client who had trouble getting up at the sales call, and I said to her, do you know what a lift chair is? That might help you. She didn't know what it was. We called the doctor. We got it. We got the prescription. We had a medical supply place come to her house so that she could pick out the fabric she wanted, and it was ordered and was waiting for her assisted living in her assisted living when she moved.
Wow, so you go to that much detail.
Yes.
And coordinate everything that somebody might need. And what if they get there and they hate the color of the walls? Do you paint them too?
I have a wonderful painter who'll be happy to do that. And we had a scenario where they had hired another painter who forgot the closets. So I had my painter go in there.
You're not going to see the closets anyway when the clothes are there. I think, I don't know, they were just taking a shortcut. But, you know, seriously, I have heard you say before that no job is too big or too small because it's all custom done, and you know what needs to be done, and you do it in the most efficient way too.
Right.
I love the fact that you have a heart for what you do. You certainly are qualified. You have the credentials. You have the education, and I know that you do free complimentary consultations. Right. What if somebody would like to contact you and maybe take advantage of that complimentary consultation? How would they do that?
Number one, they can go to my website, amovemadeeasy.com, just like it sounds, amovemadeeasy.com. They can go to my contact page and they can write me directly. I have a lot of children who read the content of the website and then they email me for more information. Or they can call me at 954-345-6683. That's 954-345-6683.
So you're located here in South Florida. Do you have a geographic area that you work within as far as boundaries?
Yes.
And what would that be?
We do Broward, Miami-Dade, and Palm Beach counties.
Okay. Now, let's say someone's listening to this or watching it live stream on the internet and they're living in another area of Florida, maybe even out of state, but they are interested in what you do and they want you or someone like you to help them. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, because I've been involved with the National Association of Senior Move Managers for 14 years, and I am a former board member, and I go to the conference every year, I know these people in all the different states or cities personally. So if they want somebody in Dallas or Houston or Los Angeles, just pick up the phone and call me, and I'd be happy to match them up with somebody that I personally know in these cities.
Are they as good as you?
They are as good as me. Otherwise, I wouldn't refer them.
Okay.
We are like thinking move managers.
Yeah.
And all the move managers are phenomenal.
Well, this is such a great service that you do for people that I think a lot of caregivers or even people in general that aren't caregivers, need to know because, you help people that are in situations where they just need that little extra touch, that expertise, that hands-on. And I think that this was a great talk that we had today to help everybody. What would be, in the next couple of minutes that we have left, what other little tips or advice would you have, or maybe another success story that you could share with us?
Well, I think one of my very favorite stories is when I first started, we are very thorough, and my painter was painting, and I sent him up in the attic to clean out the attic and bring the stuff down. And he said, what do you need to do that for? You know, it's not part of the house. I said, we're thorough. You must bring it down. So he brought back down, and there was a wad of printed material. It looked like a trial transcript. And I'm always concerned with identity theft, and we have a shredding service for the company, for the clients. So I was trying to see birth date and social security number, but I didn't want to read it because it was personal. So I called the daughter up, and I said, I found this thing. It looks like a trial transcript. And she said, oh my God, my father was in the Nuremberg trials, and he never talked about it.
Wow.
So, but I knew that it was only about 1.5 inches thick. There had to be more. So I sent my painter back up there. That volume was in the front, but hidden in the very back of the house, hidden in the rafters, were 8 more volumes.
Wow. What a legacy, what a history for the family to be able to uncover, to learn about their father's, past.
I gave them a piece of their father that they wouldn't have had I not been thorough.
Wow.
And then I have a story of a lady with dementia who we found $20,000 in a paper bag, and she didn't know she had it.
Wow. Come to my house. Maybe I have something hidden away. Now, how did that happen? You were just cleaning out?
Sorting and downsizing to help her plan for her move, and we found a bag, and we always look through everything because we're very thorough, and we found money, and we told her we found money, and she wanted to count it. So we counted it at that time, and it was about $20,000, and we said we are not leaving until we take you right to the bank.
Wow. And you did, and deposited right in her account. Now, did this lady have some memory problems or dementia?
She did. Yeah.
And, again, that's a very good point to make, because families that are going through things, I would suggest that if you're cleaning out your parents' things, you need to go through every book and flip through the pages, because seniors tend to kind of hide things, and sometimes people with dementia can be paranoid, and they're going to hide things so nobody else will find it. So that's another very, very good tip.
Right. We found $1,000 in a used manila envelope. We found $1,000 at the same house in a record album sleeve.
Wow. So that's another really, really good tip. So one more time, your phone number, Sharon?
954-345-6683. Again, 954-345-6683.
Great. So call Sharon, get your free complimentary consultation from A Move Made Easy. You'll be glad that you did. And in the meantime, don't forget to call Arden Courts on their toll-free line, 888-478-2410, 888-478-2410, and ask for your free copy of the 36-hour day. You'll be glad that you did. We will see you again, same place, same time next week. And in the meantime, don't forget, give someone a hug, because they need it, and so do you. So until then, take care. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teele. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its host, guests,